Thank you to everyone for joining us today. It's great for me personally to be back at the Royal Geographical Society for the launch of the Jewel of Arabia expedition. I'm delighted to be joined by His Highness Sayyid Theyazin, and I've just had the opportunity to look through some of the images from the RGS collection, and they bring back warm memories of my visit to Oman in 2019. This expedition will not only highlight Oman's rich biodiversity and natural heritage, but also symbolises the enduring friendship between our two countries. The expedition will walk in the footsteps of British explorer Bertram Thomas, taking in the wonderful coastline of Oman. They'll be able to see the beauty of Oman, but also the damage done by climate change. I'm delighted that one of the winners of the Earthshot Prize Awards last year, or actually it was in 2022, was from Oman. 4401 removes CO2 permanently by mineralizing it in peridotite, a rock found in abundance in Oman, as well as in America, Europe, Asia, and Australasia. I wish Mark and all the team the very best for your expedition. I wish I was able to join you, but I'll be following it very closely. And good luck to everyone involved.
And with those words from our co-patron, His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales, the Jewel of Arabia expedition was born. If you've been listening to our podcast, you'll know me by now. I'm Mark Evans. Whilst the expedition may have reached its end, it's our hope that the legacy of our journey will continue far into the future. So this particular episode's all about just that, legacy, and how the Jewel of Arabia expedition is already making its mark.
This experience, I can say that I cannot buy it with million riyals. That this experience, it's added to me a lot personally. And it adds for me a really values that I discovered about myself.
The Jewel of Arabia was an absolute gift for us as educators. It encompasses everything that you want to enhance your curriculum.
The Jewel of Arabia expedition was all about connecting people together, so linking people in Oman, linking people in Britain.
So I have this vision of working with students on campus at Penn State, and then ideally going out for maybe a spring break week to Oman to sort of hit up some of the main sites that they visited on the expedition.
That's just a flavour of the expedition impact. I'll be sharing a lot more over the course of the podcast. It was His Excellency Azan Al-Busaidi, Under-Secretary at the Ministry of Heritage and Tourism in Oman, who, right back at the launch event, set out the challenge that lay ahead of us.
Jewel of Arabia's new generation of adventurers will travel from Ras Al Had to Salalah, taking a journey around Oman's natural wonders. And along the way, the team will give the world an introduction to determined young pioneers shaping a green and environmentally responsible future for Oman. At the crossroad of continents with landscapes fed by a monsoon from the Indian Ocean, Oman has an incredible diversity of plants, animals, and birds. Our seas teem with life. Our natural environment, an intricate web of biodiversity, is beautiful. Our natural wealth is immense, and have been truly blessed. We have been given a precious gift, a jewel like no other. It is a jewel that we are determined to continue to shine for our children, their children, and the future generations to come. We are determined too to make sure this jewel continues to benefit the communities that share their delights and continues to bring joy to the responsible visitor. Our natural world now faces a challenge that endangers humanity. This is why the Jewel of Arabia, the messages it sends to the world, and the attention it brings is very, very important.
We were following the route of Bertram Thomas, who was awarded the Royal Geographical Society's Founders Medal. So let's start with the Royal Geographical Society and hear how they've been using the expedition to develop resources for education. Simon Pinfield is from their education team.
Mark's expedition in this case was following his 1928 route. He had a map of the original expedition, and that was the starting point to the resources that we were producing. And we've created from that a story map that outlines the route, but also was used as a live resource to continually update and add materials as the expedition team went through the field. We also set up a question and answer system, which was embedded into our website and gave students and teachers the opportunity to ask questions and for us to then send them out via messaging services to Mark so that they could be answered directly in the field. And that was fantastic because he was able to answer in a number of different ways. Sometimes he could send an image and we could use that image, or even a video clip and show the answer that students or teachers were asking for. But in addition to that, he was able to do sort of mini audio updates for us as well to directly, again, answer the questions that have been asked. I think it was something that schools hadn't really had a chance to do in the past, and we managed to get a number of schools involved, including the British school Muscat. And the teachers there were very active in helping their students to put questions through and to really participate and follow on. Some schools in the UK also picked it up and asked questions and were engaged too. And we do hope that that will then lead to even more engagement once we've got the findings from the field incorporated into resources for the classroom.
We'll hear more from the RGS later on. Schools and their teaching are vital to the legacy of the Jewel of Arabia. Zoe Woolley is the executive principal of the Knowledge Gate International School in Muscat.
The Jewel of Arabia was an absolute gift for us as educators. It encompasses everything that you want to enhance your curriculum. So thinking of all of the range of curriculum subjects, we had geography in there, we had history, we've got PE, we had our children running the same amount of kilometres as the journey was. We've got maths, we've got angles, we've got calculating calorific value for the day, we've got English with diaries, and then we've got sort of like the obvious, which is actually Bertram himself and his diaries and his fantastic writing, which you're then bringing that to life with real life explorers, which if you're a child at school, to actually have that connection with a real life explorer is fantastic. So I think there were two very special elements to this particular project. One was that it was happening here in Oman, and that two of the team members live here in Muscat. So that immediately connected our local population here at the school to this in a way that is very unique. This actually meant something to our students here. And then the other thing is that it connected with us in a way which reached this generation. So our students here have a lot of connectivity in their lives. We had almost continuous engagement with the team through through the podcast, but we could also ask questions. There was the live trackers. Everything was new and fresh and on a daily basis. And that's very much what our children, the world that our children live in now. I think quite often when we talk about sustainability or we talk about projects that involve wildlife or natural environment, quite often they're tinged with a sadness and a despair. And what this project did was it really filled us with hope and inspiration and ideas and the fact that we can make a difference. And I think it was that for many of our pupils and their families lit that little spark that said, you know what, I might only be doing a small thing, but I can have a part in being a good ancestor for future generations. And each of those podcasts along the way gave us hope and inspiration. The journey highlighted a number of features here in Oman that many of our students as yet have not been able to actually experience for themselves. So we're hearing conversations and the excited planning that's going on for our students to go and visit the turtles, to have a trip with their parents over the holidays to Salalah. And I think this is also quite key to our community here. We live in this amazing country, and therefore lots of people having the experience that makes them say, do you know what, I'm going to do something to save this. I'm going to make a change. I am going to learn a little bit more about my local environment, what the impact is that I can have, and what's my legacy going to be for the future.
It's great to hear how young people are already changing how they think and how they're influencing the older generations of their family. Great to hear too from Zoe that this podcast gave them hope. The podcast has now been downloaded on every continent on Earth, so we're reaching out to an ever-growing global audience with that message of possibility and of hope. Over in America, Penn State is one of the top universities for Omani students. Associate Teaching Professor Dr. Lucy McLean teaches sustainability there.
The Jewel of Arabia expedition has influenced a lot of my work at Penn State at different scales. For me personally, on an individual level, I did not realize that Penn State had as many Omani students as we do. And so I've been able to get to know many students who are in my classes at Penn State. And I've been able to visit Washington, D.C. with a few of them to go to the Sultan Qaboos Cultural Center, the SQCC, and learned a lot about Omani culture and heritage and the beautiful people that they are. The second scale is that my sustainability class here at Penn State, we talk about global issues of sustainability, national issues of sustainability, and all the way down to like our campus and how we are working on sustainability efforts in our our small part of the world. But the Jewel of Arabia expedition has given me more glimpse into those international efforts that are happening in different parts of the world. And at Penn State, we do a lot of sustainability education, and we do a lot of international education as well. We're very adept at teaching about different cultures in different classes. And this is one of the ways that we can bring the good work that Oman is doing in their country into some curriculum here in the United States to at least showcase to our American students that there are other countries that are, divesting from fossil fuels and really trying to double down on the renewable energy sector of their industry. I've been meeting with folks in our study abroad office at Penn State Global to think about how we could lift off the ground more of an experiential type of class where students from the United States, from Penn State, can visit Oman for an boots on the ground, real world experience and see some of the things that the Jewel of Arabia expedition talked about in their podcast. So I have this vision of working with students on campus at Penn State and getting them sort of in the mindset of the expeditioners, and then ideally going out for maybe a spring break week to Oman to sort of hit up some of the main sites that they visited on the expedition. And again, the vehicle for that class would be sustainability and thinking about really seeing sustainability in action somewhere that's not the United States. I think getting those global perspectives for students at Penn State is really important. The Omani students at Penn State reacted to the Jewel of Arabia expedition and all the media around the expedition in a very excited way. And it's not over for us yet because we are hoping to we're actively planning to bring Mark to Penn State in the fall. And I have several Omani students. The Omani Student Association is working with us to help facilitate that experience so that when Mark is on campus, he's not just delivering a lecture, your sort of formal lecture, but we are setting up experiences for him to meet with Omani students and other entities at Penn State, like Penn State Global, who runs a lot of our study abroad experiences. But the Omani students that are at Penn State, again, we have about almost 90, which, out of 50,000 students at Penn State seems like a drop in the bucket, but it's really quite large. We are, from what I have gathered from colleagues, we're one of maybe the top 3 universities in the United States for Omani students. And so to spotlight their culture and their country within our university through the Jewel of Arabia expedition has been beautiful to watch unfold. They're very prideful in a great way, and they're very happy to see this energy. Right now, I am working with 2 young women, Omani students here at Penn State, to help me build the curriculum around the Jewel of Arabia expedition and Oman sustainability into my sustainability class, so that next fall, the fall semester, it can be integrated into my class. And I really wanted to be intentional about designing the class alongside 2 of our students from Oman, because I want their voices to sort of drive the lesson. They know their culture and they know their country much more than I do, since I've never been there. And so it's been, again, another great individual learning experience for me to learn from them, and to get their insight as to the good work that Oman is doing.
Let's head back to Oman for a moment and speak to Dhikra Al-Mawali.
Oh, you remind me for the old days.
Dhikra and I have got a lot to catch up on. We haven't seen each other for
Yeah.
How long is it since we saw each other, Dhikra? Is it about,
Since
when did we finish? 6 weeks ago. You'll remember Dhikra as one of the expedition team and also Oman's first National Geographic explorer. She's a senior instructor at Outward Bound Oman and has influenced the lives of thousands of young Omanis. Dhikra, while she was with us, was researching and starting to write the brand new Outward Bound Oman sustainability course that's currently being developed. When we caught up, I wanted to know from Dhikra what she personally took away from the expedition.
First of all, this experience, I can say that I cannot buy it with million reals. That this experience, it's add to me a lot personally, and it adds for me a really values that I discover it about myself that I haven't know it about it before. I always encourage the participants in outward bound courses that they need to go out of their comfort zone. But I didn't realize that I went to my comfort zone for a long time, even if I'm going through mountains, deserts, but it's a usual thing to me. But once I experienced the Jewel of Arabia expedition, it's a new place, new areas, different style, all of this. It's really took me out of the comfort zone.
The 2 things we were really focusing on Jewel of Arabia were biodiversity and sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious, you as an Omani, because, Nigel and Anna, they were kind of tourists and visitors to Oman. But you as an Omani, you're born in Oman, grown up in Oman. What did you discover about your own country that maybe surprised you? What did you learn about biodiversity and sustainability in Oman?
Yeah, in my mind, I thought just I know about Oman a lot, but during the expedition, I realized that Oman more diverse than what it was in what was in my mind. It was really amazing to me that seeing Oman in another way than that what I used to see it. It has so many things to see, so many things to discover, and so many unexpected, let's say, hidden wadis, and the beach that no one have been there, the white sand, and the caves, so many things that should be should be noticed, and everyone should see it, what we saw. Yeah.
Great. It's. I'm not Omani. I've been there for 22 years, but as you know, but it is just extraordinary, isn't it? That how that diversity changes so in such a short space of time, and
Yeah.
so that flows nicely to talk a little bit about Nat Geo. I remember meeting your mum and your sister in Sur at the event just before we started. And I could sense how very proud they were of the fact that you were Oman's first Nat Geo explorer. Can you tell me how you felt when you heard that, when you discovered that you were Oman's first Nat Geo explorer?
Hearing that I'm first Omani Net Geo explorer was a surprise to me. I was mixed between disbelieving and believing what I'm reading. So even my brother was close to me. I just asked him, "Could you read this email again and make sure what I understand, is it real? Is it not?" Just to make sure about what I saw, is it true or not. And the second step of my feeling, I felt that deep sense of responsibility, and I felt like standing on my shoulder. I need to do more effort to be a best role model. Right now, as you know, Mark, that during our expedition we were trying to focus on anything that relates to sustainability. We passed through the wind turbines, through the Bauer Nemar, and we try to focus on the sustainability and how it goes in Oman to relate to the project that I have to deliver through the NetGeo project. That what I'm aim to doing is to train the trainers and to deliver a course that relates to sustainability. So I'm preparing a course for 4 days, a sustainable course in outdoors, and try to reflect to our centers that it's also sustainable, to bridge the gap, let's say, to bridge the gap between the adventure and experience and learning, raising the awareness, all of this by one course, and will add also the biodiversity as well, because as what we know, if the sustainable is there, the biodiversity will stay as well. So in the next level, inshallah, once the planner is ready, I will train the trainers, and inshallah we'll get sponsors to deliver the courses of sustainability.
I'm really excited to see that training course when it's launched. Back at the RGS in London, Rachel Owen is responsible for creating and coordinating the Society's educational resources.
I think the biggest thing for geography and where this leads into the expedition is the thought about biodiversity and sustainability. That was very much our focus in writing our resources here at the Royal Geographical Society. We're creating educational resources from 7 to 18-year-olds and breaking it down into the UK key stages. So we have key stage 2, 3, 4 and 5. We're also using that to build on a platform of our story maps from Esri to be able to engage our children and learners into more of an interactive side of the resources. So they'll have maps where they can click on areas of the maps and have educational resources that they can access. So it's that kind of twofold and looking to the future in terms of technology, but also the themes of what we're working on as well. Some of the biggest themes we're thinking about is identifying kind of the plights of turtles and conservation of turtles, coastal landscapes and how that's changing along the ever-changing coast along Oman, mangroves, tourism, sustainable resource management, and much, much more, and tailoring it to the age ranges of which not only meet the UK national curriculum, but also the specifications for GCSE and A-level.
We've got really strong ambitions for how far these resources can go.
Simon Pinfield again.
Clearly, there are lots of themes that fit really closely to the geography curriculum, but in a wider sense, some of the key themes of biodiversity and considering climate change and also considering environmental management and sustainability are so important across all areas of education. And so I think they're really accessible to any schools. And so that's our ambition, is that they'll go far and wide. They are free resources available to anyone on our website.
I think the biggest thing for me is to understand that from the British point of view, Oman is a distant place. It's somewhere that a lot of classrooms don't identify with at the moment. So it is a wealth of opportunity to be able to find and explore a place that they are not familiar with and is incredibly different to their home environment. And I think that could be a lot to be said for a lot of English-speaking educational providers, where they can identify with a place that isn't like any other part of the Middle East. And it really gives an opportunity to showcase what Oman has got future ambitions for as a country and recognise how they're doing that differently to perhaps their neighbours.
I can't help but wonder what Bertram Thomas would make of how his 1928 expedition has inspired and continues to educate others nearly a century later. We heard from one of our co-patrons, His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales, earlier on. The links and relationships between Britain and Oman go back a really long way, so the Jewel of Arabia expedition was honoured to have as its other co-patron His Royal Highness the Theyazin bin Haitham. Back at the launch in London, he reflected on the importance of that relationship between the two countries.
I'd like to express my thanks and gratitude to Your Royal Highness for joining me as patron for this cultural initiative. Your dedication to conservation and cross-cultural engagements resonates far beyond Britain's shores. And it is a pleasure to share a common goal with you, honouring the long-standing bilateral Omani-British friendship. It brings me particular joy to acknowledge how our British friends have traced ancient Omani roots, expressing genuine interest and insight. The spirit of adventure and cross-cultural engagement exemplifies the very essence of our enduring relationship, which has been nurtured through generations of leadership and remains a cherished legacy that binds our countries together.
Richard Stanford is chairman of the British Omani Society, and he explained why 2025 is a landmark year for the British-Omani relationship.
I think 2025 is a really important year, not just because the Jewel of Arabia expedition took place that year, which is a landmark expedition and did so much to connect Omanis with the environment, connect British and Omani people to understand why the environment of Oman is so important and why Oman is such an important country to the UK. More importantly, perhaps, it also marks the 225th anniversary of the 1800 treaty between Oman and the UK. That was one of the first, if not the first, treaty between UK and a Gulf state. Builds on previous treaties, the first one in the 1640s. And it really goes to show that the depth and breadth of connection between Oman and Britain for so long, 225 years, is just extraordinary. And in that treaty, which was refreshingly brief when you consider them by today's standards, had a wonderful phrase within there, that the friendship will stay unshook until the end of time. Okay, that might be slightly flowery language for today, but I think it really does point out how important that the relationship was then and is now. The other part about 2025, it's an interesting year of everything that's going on, and what Mark has done as part of this expedition is highlight the importance of Oman and UK, the importance of the environment, and the look forward, to say that we've got to carry on working together. There's more to do in the years to come. And actually 2026, another important year. For us as the British Omani Society, it's our 50th anniversary. So not only have we had 225 years of a treaty between the organisations, but actually this society, the charity that's been set up to link people together, to build on foundation, to look forward, connecting generations. And if I may perhaps use the expression of being good ancestors. So what are we doing to set the conditions for those who come behind us to then continue on the really good work of Mark and others?
You may or may not have had time to listen to any of the podcasts and seen what we did on the Jewel. How do you feel the Jewel of Arabia has played a part in furthering the aims of the British Omani Society and strengthening that relationship?
The Jewel of Arabia expedition was all about connecting people together, to linking people in Oman, linking people in Britain through the vehicle of the amazing work that the expedition did to connect young people of all areas with those less able and those able through the vehicle of the environment, and really highlighting how important Oman is in biodiversity terms, environmental terms, but also tourism. Tourism is really important, and it's the most stunning country. Why would you not want to go there? So the links between what the British Omani Society is trying to do is connect people together from both countries across all sorts of areas, ranging from the highest level of diplomats and defence and security. But really this is about personal relations. This is about joining people together, of people of old and young, and through all sorts of shared interests that we all must have over the environment and biodiversity and nature. It's so important that we look after the environment, because if we don't, we will repent at our, I say leisure, but it won't be very leisurable as the countries around us get hotter and drier, and all the challenges that those will bring to us.
So, there we are. A selection of the many legacy-related elements of the Jewel of Arabia expedition. The journey itself may be over, but the work continues. Anna Maria is in Switzerland, busily sorting through thousands of images, and here in Scotland, I'm now busily writing the book and preparing the expedition lecture, both of which we hope will be ready for you to enjoy in the autumn. And if you've enjoyed this journey, stay tuned on social media for another really exciting podcasting adventure that will be taking place in Oman later in 2025. As we approach the end of this, the final Jewel of Arabia podcast, on behalf of the team, Anna Maria, Ibrahim, Dikra, Nigel and I, thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us around the campfire on our journey through Oman. Several thousand of you from every continent on earth have done so, which means a lot to us. I want to leave you with a thought from someone I find so incredibly inspiring, Dr. Mohab Al-Hinai, Oman's Mr. Sustainability. If at times it feels like we're facing an uphill battle in the push for a greener, more sustainable world, we sometimes just need to listen to the younger generation for guidance.
I have a family member who calls me a few months ago, out of the blue. He's like, I really need to see you right now. I'm like, fine, why don't you want to have coffee, or he's like, no, I want to come, it's a business meeting, I want to come to your office. I'm like, sure. So he comes here and he's like, listen, he owns one of the biggest plastic factories, without mentioning names, here in Oman. He's like, my 12-year-old daughter has been shaming me every night. He's like, you are producing plastics. He's like, help me find a way to recycle that so I can get her off my cake. So the power of these young ones is, they really shape how we think.